Hi, my name's Leo, and in this video we're going to be checking out my new gaming monitor. So I went out and picked up this AOC, I can't remember the name of it, the Q27G3XMN, which is a 1440p, 27-inch, 180 Hz. And the main thing that excited me was it's HDR1000 certified. So I picked this monitor up refurbished. As you can see, the box looks a little bit damaged. So in this video, we're going to be testing out this AOG monitor from the perspective of a casual gamer that mainly uses a TV and console. I'm very new to this whole PC gaming side of things. So this is going to be a very casual review. I'm not going to be testing out the sort of numbers in terms of pixel response time. I'm not going to be testing out the color accuracy. It's basically going to be me setting this monitor up, going over the external features, and then testing out on some HDR games and giving you my opinion compared to my OLED TV. So I've actually already unboxed it, so there's nothing in this box. So here it is, here's the monitor, 27 inches. So in the box, what I got was the monitor itself, as well as the monitor arm. So that connects with this little toggle at the bottom, and then it just comes up and off. So yeah, it comes in two parts. This has got VESA mounts. There we go, it's hooked in. And the monitor stand itself is fairly adjustable. You're able to turn the monitor, and it also goes up and down. So it is, yeah, it's pretty adjustable. The only negative I can think of with this monitor stand is how wide the base is. It's basically got these two arms that come out. And other than the monitor itself and the stand, you also get a power cable, HDMI cable, and DisplayPort cable. And that was it, that's all that comes in the box. So I'm now going to get the camera and we're going to have a closer look. So the display itself has got this matte texture on it, pretty standard for pretty much every monitor. So around the back, what have we got? So under here, the I/O, so we've got a DisplayPort, two HDMI cables, and a headphone jack. This here is the switch to sort of release the stand. And then over on this side, we've just got the power connector. And this is how thick the monitor is. It's not the thinnest monitor in the world. I think these mini LED backlit monitors tend to be a bit thicker if you compare this to like an OLED TV. That thing's like pencil thin. So this is now going to bring me on to the first negative with this monitor, and that is the controls. As you can see, they're etched onto the plastic here at the top. So essentially, I'm not really a fan of monitors with buttons you can't see. I'd much rather have them on the front. And when you're in a dark room, you're just not going to be able to see them. I have to get my phone light out to actually see what I'm pressing. And the menu itself isn't the best. We'll get onto that in a second. In terms of the overall design, I think it looks good for a £200 monitor. It's got some red accents, so you know it's a gaming monitor. The back, it's got this hole so you can put the cables through that. You're going to want a slightly bigger desk for this, how big these feet are. And it's not a small monitor. So I've hooked this monitor up to my PC. Here it is. We're actually in quite a bright room. All the windows are open and I've got a studio light behind me. So there's going to be some glare on the screen. So we're going to start off by having a look at the menu. So what do we have? We've got a gaming settings, if we go into that. So essentially that gives you FreeSync, overdrive. From what I've seen online, medium is the best. Because it is a VA panel, there's going to be some motion smearing, so having it on medium will counteract some of that. Apparently strong is too strong, so I just keep it on medium. And to be honest, the motion clarity has been really good on this monitor from what I've tested so far. You also get the option for a frame counter and volume. That's a bit misleading. This doesn't come with any speakers, but it does have the headphone jack, so that'll adjust the volume of the headphone jack rather than speakers on this Luminance. This basically allows you to toggle through the different HDR modes. I've got it on display HDR. There's a game mode, vivid, movie. I found that display HDR is the only good looking one. The other ones apply this horrible sharpen filter. For some reason, I mean, you might like that, but if I go into vivid HDR, the whole monitor has this really aggressive sharpening that I can't figure out how to turn off. So I just keep it on display HDR, or you can turn it off. But yeah, that has a bit of a softer image that looks more natural. And there's local dimming. You can sort of adjust how strong you want that. I mean, you're buying a monitor with mini LED and local dimming, you might as well use all of it. So yeah, that's the menu. It's not terrible, but as I mentioned, I'm not a fan of the buttons underneath here. So there we are on the desktop. There's a few things I want to talk about. One is the matte finish and my opinions on that. So first off, yes, there is glare. You can see there's glare from that light, glare from the window, and it sort of diffuses it a bit more than a shiny screen like this LG TV. But in my opinion, I much prefer a shiny screen to this matte finish. This to me just reduces the contrast of the image. So I would have much rather had a glossy screen with some anti-glare coating on it. I think that would have looked a lot better. So I've just gone and opened Minecraft, and we're going to talk about the brightness. And yes, this is a bright monitor. Testing I've seen online, I've seen somewhere that this can go up to about 1300 nits of peak brightness. For reference, my TV, which is an LG OLED from a couple of years ago, this can only get up to about 500 or 600 nits of peak brightness. So this objectively can get a lot brighter. Another thing I want to mention is the colors. The colors, although they're not sort of OLED colors, colours are pretty good. They definitely don't appear washed out and dull. It's quite hard to sort of show with all this glare on the screen. And this scene here is a pretty good scene to demonstrate the local dimming. I don't think Minecraft has HDR, but it does utilise the local dimming. So for example, this section is a lot brighter than this section. So the sort of LEDs behind the backlight are a lot brighter up here, which is noticeable, and it does look good. So I've now opened Silent Hill 2, which supports HDR, and I've also closed some of the windows to try and reduce glare on the screen. So this scene before we get into the game is actually quite interesting. So we've got some white text and some white footprints on a dark background. So this local dimming mini LED display has only 336 zones, which is actually not a huge number when it comes to these sort of monitors. Some of the more expensive monitors have dimming zones in the thousands, so this just isn't very much. So this means the sort of precision of the local dimming is quite bad. So what you find in scenes where there's a lot of darkness and some maybe white text or a white mouse pointer, the brightness is quite low because it doesn't want to boost the brightness of that quite large zone and add a lot of blooming to the white text. So it tends to leave the text in this sort of scene quite dim, which is very different to an OLED, which is much more precise. So if this was an OLED screen, the white text would be really bright and really contrasty on this dark background, but that's sort of a quirk of this technology. So there we go, we're into Silent Hill. It's actually quite hard playing with one hand. But that's quite a good scene to show that this area is a lot brighter than this area, and then that window is really bright, that doorway's bright. So in my opinion, this monitor's at its best in a scene like this where there's large parts of sort of darker image, and then there's a big chunk of bright light coming through a window or a doorway. Because in this sort of scene, it's able to boost the backlights in this area and sort of dim them around this area. An area where this monitor doesn't look so good and where OLED is vastly superior is when there's no sort of bright areas in the scene, it's all just dark. So for example, I was playing the new Oblivion game, and during the night, this monitor doesn't look great. Part of this issue may be that my settings are wrong, but I find that you either crush the shadows, as in it looks too dark, or when you try and bring the gamma up and bring the shadows up, it just looks very washed out, which isn't a problem with OLED because a lot of OLED TVs that I've used tend to handle sort of dark scenes really well. And another thing that's highlighted in this scene is why I hate the matte finish. This area just looks really washed out, and I've even tried to close the curtains. But yeah, you have to be gaming in quite a dark room, even though this is a bright monitor. Otherwise, it just looks washed out. I wish they could have released this monitor with a glossy finish. I think it would have made the contrast look a lot better. The final thing we're going to test is motion clarity because it is a VA panel. So I've got overdrive set to medium, and we're going to move around and see if there's any smearing. I mean, it's quite hard to show on camera. You just got to take it from me. The image clarity is perfectly fine. I don't know how well that comes across on camera, but the motion clarity is really good. It doesn't feel smeary at all. It's obviously not quite as good as an OLED, but it's perfectly fine. To me, it feels on par with any IPS display, so it's a thumbs up from me for motion clarity. So there you go. Those are my first impressions on the AOC Q27G3XMN monitor. In my opinion, for £200, it's a very bright monitor. The colors are decent. The only negatives are the buttons down here are a bit clunky, and the matte finish is just personal preference. I'm not a fan of the matte finish, but at the end of the day, it's pretty good for the price. It's not quite an OLED, but it is a decent gaming monitor. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Be sure to drop us a like and consider subscribing. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers, and I'll see everyone in my next video.